discourse. Today, as I mentioned earlier, is a continuation of our series here at the Spiritual Lotus on releasing guilt and shame. As we have said in some of the past discourses, guilt and shame are part of the human condition. Every single human being will at one time or another experience guilt and shame. These are not things that we can escape if we are existing in this human body. Having said that, some people transform guilt and shame from a concept of I thought something bad, I said something bad, or I did something bad into a concept of I am bad. And there is a significant difference between a belief in I did something wrong and a belief in I am bad. So let me talk about that a little bit. A belief in I am bad because of conduct is really a breeding ground for egotistical thought, self-centered thought, and illusion. It is this transformation of conduct into a belief that your very being, your very essence, your very self is bad. And do you see how, if you are making that transformation into a belief that I am bad, how self-centered that is, how egotistical that is, and how that is really fuel for the little ego. The little ego loves that type of thought and that type of thinking. It makes the little ego stronger and stronger. And since humans are apt to indulge in that type of belief, this is in part why, for most humans, their little ego is so powerful and is so strong. It's this belief in I, me, and my instead of we, our, and us. What is so insidious about this belief that I am bad is, do you see how with that belief you are saying everything is bad? We are more than this physical body. We are more than our human brain. We are more than the cells and atoms of which we are composed in this physical reality. We are spirit. We are co-creators. We are literally God. You cannot separate us from God. And so if you are indulging in this illusory belief that I am bad, you are literally saying that as a co-creator, as a manifester of everything that exists in your life, you are bad, which necessarily makes this creation bad. It makes the source of it bad, and it makes the manifestation of it bad. So do you see how insidious this I am bad belief and concept really is? So these discourses have been about releasing guilt and shame. So I wanted to provide 4 steps at this point. which will hopefully provide some positive movement towards getting away from guilt and shame. So, step number 1. We've talked a lot in past discourses about guilt and shame, and what I don't want people to have is an understanding that we should ignore it. We should just say, well, something was done that was bad, conduct was bad, leave it at that and move on. We're not saying that at all, and in fact, this first step that I want to talk about is antithetical to that. This first step is whatever thought, whatever word, or whatever deed you're uncomfortable with and feel is bad, you need to stop and face it directly. Confront it directly. Ideally, this will be done immediately when it happens. So immediately when you have the thought, immediately when you said something, or immediately when you've done an act which you're not proud of, and which might lead to guilt and shame. So you stop, you face it, you take full account of it, and you should analyze it. You should be analyzing why you made that particular speech, why you thought that particular thing, why you did that particular act. And in this analysis, you need to determine what was your intent. Was your intent in the thought, word, and or deed to bring harm to another person, to another thing, to a situation, to bring negative energy into the situation? Or was your intent something good, something positive, which had an unintended effect of harming someone, of bringing negativity into a situation? Was your thought, word, and deed based on lack? And by lack, I mean, was it based on a lack of understanding, a lack of appreciation, a lack of skill, a lack of focus? The reason it is important to face conduct, whether it's words, deeds, thoughts, head on, is so you can understand why you did it, and only through this understanding of why you did it can you make a change. And that brings us to step 2. Many people, when they've done something which can be considered bad, the first thing they do is they start beating themselves up with the ugly stick. I can't believe I thought that. I can't believe I said that. I can't believe I did that. You know, I'm worthless. I told myself this wouldn't happen, and I'm doing it again. Why can't I stop this? This brings us back to what I was saying before about this self-centered egoism. But what the Buddhists talk about with guilt and shame is turn it around and use it as motivation to be better. Things that you have done can actually be a stepping stone. Things that you have done which can be perceived as being bad can be a stepping stone to being a better, kinder, more loving, more joyous person. And the way that that can happen is if you've done something which is bad, you must use it as motivation to not do it again. You have to analyze it, see why you did it, so that you don't repeat the mistake. And then you have to take action, make a commitment that whatever you said, whatever you did, whatever you thought, you will not do again. In this fashion, your conduct, your thoughts, words, and deeds can mold you into becoming this perfect, clear diamond, can help you achieve enlightenment. The Buddhists talk about these things, and they're not saying they're not bad, but what they are saying is there's a silver lining, there's a positive to them, and we should be focusing on that positive to make ourselves better. And when we make ourselves better, we make everything around us better, because we are all interconnected, we are all intertwined. Step number 3 is forgiveness. And we've talked about this in many other discourses, not just other discourses on releasing guilt and shame. If you've done something which is going to lead to guilt and shame, you have to forgive yourself. If you do not forgive yourself, you will never be released from that guilt and shame. Wherever you go, it will be with you. If it was a thought that was bad, that thought will be with you. If it was conduct that was bad, that conduct will be with you. If it was speech that was bad, that speech will be with you. They will be with you forever if you do not forgive yourself. You will forever be attached to them. And what they will then be is an anchor, pulling you down into the sea of illusion. You will be drowning in the sea of illusion with no escape in sight. It's no mistake, as we've said before, that forgiveness is part of the Lord's Prayer. It's one of the most important parts of the Lord's Prayer. If you're ever going to go through that eye of the needle, you must forgive yourself. And step number 4 on these 4 steps that I wanted to talk about has to do with love. There's a Buddhist saying about love, and well, it's a saying that's attributed to the Buddha. I'm not sure he actually said it or not, but for our purposes, it doesn't really matter. So what the saying is as follows. Many of us spend our lifetimes searching for someone or something we feel is more deserving of our love than ourselves. And the Buddha says that this search will always end in vain, because you will never, ever find someone or something more deserving of your love than yourself. And this goes back to the concept of what the self really is. We are the source. We are the Alpha and the Omega. We are the beginning and the end. If you cannot love yourself, in light of that, you will be incapable of loving anyone else or anything. So it is incumbent upon you to do what is ever necessary through your practices, your meditative exercises, your contemplative exercises, your prayer work, watching your thoughts, watching your words, watching your deeds, to ensure that you are cultivating and engendering love for yourself and within yourself. For it is by doing that that you will be able to love other people unconditionally, other things unconditionally. It is through that you will be able to purify yourself, free yourself from guilt and shame. And of course, by doing that, you're freeing others from guilt and shame and freeing the universe from guilt and shame. So those are the concepts that I wanted to talk about today. And at this point, we will have a deep level meditation.